Many thought the Celtics season was over before it started, but instead, the Celtics find themselves in a top 3 position in the Eastern Conference thus far. Jason Tatum tore his Achilles on May 12, 2025 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semis. The Celtics went on to lose that series as a lot of eyes were on Jaylen Brown to make a difference. It's a hard ask of Jaylen Brown to transform into the number 1 role with such a quick turnaround at an important moment. But with a whole offseason of preparation, Jaylen and the Celtics have overcome all odds so far. Let's look at the Celtics as a whole this season and how it compares to last season with Jason Tatum at the helm. Similar team trends appear to stand out. They shot a historic amount of threes per game last season and were first in attempts at about 48.2 attempts per game. In comparison to this season, they still lead the league in attempts per game at a slightly lower frequency of about 42 to 43 attempts per game. They do a great job moving and screening, as you will see different actions as simple as the Spain pick and roll or even just rub cuts. With the roster changes and the injury to Tatum, they've had to change their offensive scheme in some of the smallest but most effective ways. The Celtics had Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis on their roster last year, who are both guys that can stretch the floor. Keita, on the other hand, who is their starting center this year, is not so much of a stretch center, but they found ways to make him effective on that side of the floor. This includes him setting a lot of screens at the high elbow or top of the key areas. This even allows for guys like Pritchard, White, and Anthony Simons to work along the perimeter. Here we get to see a rub cut within the Spain pick and roll action. Pritchard will run across, not set the ball screen, but will still use Keita as the flare screen option. And this action is so deadly because they have to pick up Jaylen Brown off of that rub cut, and they have to play Keita just in case he slips to the basket. Another thing to note stylistically, the Celtics last year with Tatum were hunting mismatches. With Tatum, they would use ball screens about 28 times per 100 possessions, whereas this season so far, it's just under 20 per 100 possessions. This action works beautifully here as Sam Hauser will come up to screen the screener within that Spain pick and roll for Keita to drop down and for him to pop. But it works beautifully because Peyton Pritchard has the first option in this offensive play and he gets the layup at the basket. This action is great with confusing the defense and causing miscommunication, as here we see Sam Hauser finally get his 3-point attempt off of this action. And we cannot mention the Boston Celtics without mentioning Jaylen Brown, who is the new number 1 option for the Boston Celtics this year. I always thought he was better than Jason Tatum, so I'm just going to throw that out there now, but he is having career-high numbers without Tatum, showing why he belongs. He's averaging close to 30 points per game, averaging career highs in both points and assists this season. With a shakeup in the roster and a little bit of a stylistic change on offense, Jaylen Brown also had to make adjustments. Last year, he shot about 6 mid-range shots per game, and this year he's doubled that to 12 attempts per game for mid-range. The mid-range game is a lost art, but when you shoot the ball as effectively as he does from this range, you have to keep it going, as he shoots 48% from this area. With all of the rub cuts and Spain pick and rolls and all of the other off-ball actions or even on-ball screening actions that we have seen, this allows for Jaylen Brown to play freely. He is about the only guy that's able to isolate on this team, and without Tatum, having that responsibility and knowing you have the green light makes him play confident. It is a new level of confidence and comfortability that we are not used to seeing from Jaylen Brown. Along with the Boston Celtics and the outsiders thinking that they were not going to do well this year, they also had a lot of doubts about Jaylen Brown. But this is an every year deal with him. They always say he can't go left, he's nothing without Tatum, or can't win with Tatum. So you throw both of those guys in the mix. But there's so much criticism on Jaylen Brown that I think he's shutting the haters up this year. His mid-range game has evolved. His three-point game has been developed since he came into the league. When you're scoring about 30 points per game, there's no reason for anybody to criticize you anymore. The offensive rating has skyrocketed for the Celtics this season, and it's better than it was last year. It's approximately 122.9 which is slightly higher than last year's 120.6. But there's one thing and one slight difference that I would like to discuss. With all of the roster change-ups and Tatum not being in the picture this season, the defensive rating has dropped a little bit. So even with the offensive production per possession being stronger this season with 122.9 points per 100 possessions, the defense has regressed from a top 5 defense to more of a middle-of-the-pack team at 115.5 points per 100 possessions. The key losses defensively are Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis within the paint, interior defense, and rim protection. Now, the big one, in my opinion, is Jrue Holiday on the perimeter. He doesn't lack size, he doesn't lack strength, he doesn't lack lateral quickness, compared to some other guys who are middle-of-the-pack defenders, such as a Peyton Pritchard, who lacks a little bit of size, and then Sam Hauser, who can't necessarily move his feet as well at times. So there are different instances where you can't fully put the defensive rating difference on Tatum, but I will like to say with a slight decrease, I don't think that Tatum being in the picture would make a complete difference. I think those three meant a lot more defensively than what Tatum does. So I propose the question, do the Boston Celtics really need Jayson Tatum, or is this just a flash-in-the-pan season for the Boston Celtics and Jaylen Brown? The Celtics have a 26-15 record right now and currently hold the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics and Jaylen Brown have made schematic changes to make the offense better this season without Tatum, but the defense has taken a hit. Is this because of Tatum? I want you to comment below, let us know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, this was another episode of Court Vision, a Life in the Stands production. Remember, the film never lies.